Hey, welcome to Tabletop Skirmish Games. I'm Lee, and in this video we'll be taking a look at the WARCRY Red Harvest book in detail and comparing it with the original core book for WARCRY. Here we go, so we've got the WARCRY Red Harvest book and we've got the core book. Now this is the book you get in the Red Harvest set, and this has got everything you need to play the game. But there are some differences between this book and the core book. So in this video we'll go through all the contents of Red Harvest and then make some comparisons with the core book, and hopefully that's going to give you a really good idea as to whether or not you need to get this core book at all. But I think you can pretty much play with this, but there is going to be some elements of gameplay in WARCRY that you would need this core book for, but it's certainly not essential. Okay, let's put this core book to the side for now and we'll come back to that in a little while. But we're going to just focus on the Red Harvest book now. So great cover art for this. The theme is really fantastic. I think WARCRY have always got a really strong branding and I really like the images they include. And got some great branding going on with the book here. On the back, you're just going to see this little quote. The oath is all, we faithful know that only strength wins a seat amongst the immortals, and they are not eager to share power. So come warrior, put my resolve to the test. And you can just see this faint image of this Conan barbarian style fighter there coming through as well. So really nice cover art. Altogether in this book we're looking at 104 pages, plus the back cover, which is going to have our WARCRY Warband roster in. So flicking straight through to the contents, we're going to go through lots of background and narrative. So we're going to look at the blood of the gods, then the seekers of Varanite and Bloodforged Steel. Then it tells us how to use the book, and right away this is going to be slightly different to the core book because we've got some special rules for the Varanite delve terrain that's included in the Red Harvest book. Then we've got a really good strong campaign section and branching quests that you can use for all the different warbands in the 4 grand alliances. Then we've got background tables, exactly the same style as we've seen before for other warbands, but here we're going to get them just for the Dark Oath Savages and the Tarantulas Brood. Then Glory and Slaughter before going on to play in WARCRY, looking at all the rules, and then a nice section on narrative play. So this has got everything in here to play the game, the core rules and how to play narratively. But there is some differences here straight away than the core book. So I'm just going to grab that real quick and we'll have a look at the contents for the core book as well, and just you can see the differences there. So I mean right away the book is a lot bigger. This is 160 pages for the core book, and then as we look at the contents we're going to see that you've got narrative play here, but you don't have open play or match play included in the Red Harvest book. So if you did want to do open play or match play, then you're going to need to look at the rules in here, because there's some things in here for having like multiplayer modes and things like that. But we'll have a closer look later on as we get through the book. Right, so we get this nice introduction, and these are always really good. One page that really sets the scene and gets you into what WARCRY is all about. Then Blood of the Gods, again more background and talking through your journey and how you can choose from the 4 grand alliances. So these expansion books give you all the rules you need to play different alliances and also to play different warbands from Age of Sigmar. So you can use all your Age of Sigmar models, or pretty much most of them in WARCRY. Some of the giant ones can't be used. There are some monsters in these, but they certainly don't cover all the bigger models. But most of the fighters you can certainly use in here, no problem at all. Then this is a nice section, the box contents, laying out exactly what you get. There are some discrepancies here though, because they don't include the dice. The picture of the dice here is different to the dice you get. You get the really straight edge dice, which are really nice, much better quality than these. So that's not included. And it also doesn't show you the terrain cards, deployment cards, like the whole battle plan card deck either. And that all comes in the Red Harvest box, which is a really nice addition. And it would have been good if this was up to date and matched that. So I wonder if adding those was like an afterthought. So I'm not sure about that. But they certainly had the terrain cards done for this. So it's strange that they're not included in this box contents. But that's no problem really. Then we're on to a bit more lore. Now we're going to really have a little bit of reading to do with some great artwork. And this is just going to introduce us to WARCRY. We can kind of put ourselves in that world with this nice map, which really brings it all to life. And then again, more reading. So there's quite a lot of background and lore in here, and I think that's really good to have. Then we get our usual page each for the Tarantulas Brood and the Dark Oath Savages. And so here, a couple of paragraphs is introducing us to the warband, giving us a taste of what they're all about, and that's a really nice introduction. And that's often all you need. A couple of paragraphs is really good, especially when you combine it with all the information about the 8 points too. Then we've got this section, the Seekers of Varanite. And this is where we start looking at some more lore, but really looking at the terrain and where this is going to be set. So where is Red Harvest set? And then some nice photography and close-up images of all the different models. Great references for when you start to do your painting. And we can see them starting to go up against some of the other warbands, like the Iron Golems here. And the Tarantulas Brood as well. Nice pictures, great references for when we paint, and some really good photography of the different warbands fighting each other in amongst this awesome terrain. It's really great terrain in the set. So there's quite a lot of photos here, which I really like. We've got the original Warcry terrain there as well, showing you how you can use these different elements, even with maybe some custom foam terrain, so you can make some pits or gullies, put these little bridges across, so that's really nice. So you can certainly make it look all rocky, as if it's in some kind of mine or cavern, and that's a really nice way to go. I think that's something I'll be interested in doing for sure. And then you can see the mine in action with all the sluices and everything. So you're getting lots of inspiration. Got the Foamroid Crusher, so we can see how these bigger models are coming into play. And then we go on to Bloodforged Steel. And in this section, you're going to see some rules for the new terrain, and then we're going to find out exactly how this terrain is going to work in the game and how you can interact with it. So a really important section, and you're not going to get this in that main core book, as this terrain is unique to Red Harvest. So here it tells us how we can use the book. It goes into the Varanite special rules, terrain rules, campaign quests and branching quests, background tables, core rules and warband roster. So this section is really big, and this is everything really that we're going to cover for the rest of this video. So here we've got the Varanite Delve special rules, and I've done a separate video where we took a deep dive look at all the terrain. So we went through the rules a little bit and did a terrain talk, looking at the different size and how it might play and how we might use it in our game. So this section is really good, and I love how they've done the rules here, because it really brings the terrain to life and makes it a big part of the game. Because now you can turn this machinery on in your imagination with a certain action, and you use like an ability for that. So you have to use your ability dice to turn it on or off, and then that has an effect on these sluices, which can cause problems. If you get too close to machinery and then it's turned on, you can be brought into the machinery and mangled up a bit and take some damage and things like that. So it's got some really nice rules, and I love how they've done this. It's much better than Catacombs in my opinion, and I think the rules are much more interactive, and they make a lot of sense with when you look at the terrain and how it all works. So this section is really good. We've got the specific rules for that terrain then, and here's the abilities. And I'll be doing another video once I've got everything painted, just to top up my rule series, so you can see the rules being played out on the tabletop with some miniatures as well. But these delve engines are really fun and a great part of the game, and some really nice details. Now we're on to the different quests and all those. So this is packed with quests to do. You can see we've got the Dark Oath Savages room mark there, so these are going to be unique to them, and they're going to have a couple of quests to do. Then we've got the Tarantulas Brood room mark, so they're going to have a couple of quests. But then we've got these branching quests that all the different alliances can go on. So this whole section is going to be devoted to 4 special campaign quests, and these are now known as branching quests, and they follow the normal rules for campaign quests, which you can find in this book and the core book. But after the first and second convergence battles, you'll be asked to choose a path, and your choice will determine the convergence your warband will fight next. And so when you finally claim victory in the third and final convergence, you look up the corresponding conclusion in the Spoils of War section for that quest, and then you see the outcome and claim your reward. So really interesting, and it's got it for each of the 4 grand alliances. So as we flick through, we'll see the different room marks here, which will tell us which grand alliance can use it. And then you can see we've got all the different convergences and the different paths, And then at the end of that, we've got the spoils of victory that match up to those paths. So really great. We've got one for each Grand Alliance. So plenty to keep us busy here with our warbands. If we're playing other warbands that aren't included in Red Harvest, we certainly can add to our collection, and we're going to have loads of games to play here. So we're certainly not going to run out, that's for sure. And if you've got the other supplement books as well, and the Tome of Champions, then you know that there's just tons of information and tons of games you can play. Then we've got these naming tables and the origin and background tables. So one for Dark Oath Savages, one for Tarantulas Brood. So you can choose, you can roll a dice, or you can completely ignore them and make up your own. So I think it's fun to have a look, get some inspiration. If you like what you see, use it. If you don't, then come up with your own, that's no problem. Now we're on to Glory and Slaughter. And this is where we're going to start looking at the core rules. And now we're going to compare this as we go through to the core book. And so I'll bring that in and we can look at some additions that have been made in here. But it's mostly exactly the same as the core book as far as the main rules are concerned. So we've got the same layout in the Red Harvest book as we're going to see in the core book. We've got Playing Warcry and core rules. Now in here, all the images match with the contents of the Red Harvest box set. So you're going to see all the terrain and miniatures from that. But if we bring the core book here, you can see that it's exactly the same. The core rules, all the tokens. But here you've got the different ways to play. So these pages are going to be a little bit different because you've got core rules and then narrative play, whereas here you've got core rules and then 3 ways to play and the campaign section. Now we've already seen the campaign section in here, but in the core book it's further on in the book because it's a lot bigger and there's a lot more campaigns included. But if you want to learn how to play, all the rules you need are in here, and they're updated and in line with all the erratas that have been put out since Warcry started, whereas in here you'll have to go through the erratas and bring those up to date. But you do get the advantage in this book of having open play and match play rules included. And then as we move on, we can see that we've got the fighter and ability cards, and here we've got the Tarantulas Brood and the Dark Oath Savages as our examples. We've got general rules, so that's the same except for here's an example of where it's been updated in line with the errata. So here we've got the measure in distance section, and here you can see there's a new paragraph that's been slotted in. So this one comes from one of the erratas, so this is completely up to date. So if you're looking for a printed up to date rule set, this is going to be a good place to go for that. And then as we keep going, most of this is then the same. Here we've got some changes where we've got the terrain deck from the Red Harvest box set, but all the rules other than that are pretty much the same, with 1 or 2 lines updated where needed. And as you go through, we've got the universal abilities, that's updated, which is really good to see. So that's going to make things a lot easier. And if we do a little side-by-side comparison here, then you can see that where Onslaught here in the Red Harvest book is now updated, and it says have a range characteristic of 3 or less, where in the original Onslaught that condition wasn't included. So that's all now nicely updated, and so that's one thing I really like about the Red Harvest book. We can use this now, and also if you like me, all these pages are starting to fall out of my core book. It certainly took a hammering, so really nice to get a nice clean fresh rule book to use in the game as well. And then all the images have changed, so that's really nice. Cover rule, that's been updated. If we got to that, let's have a look. Don't think we've got to the cover yet, but as we get to that, that's took a little bit of an update as well. We've got our attack actions, then we've got our terrain. So in here, the cover's been reworded a little bit, so that makes a lot more sense now too. And then we keep going. Chaotic beasts and thralls, so they can still be used in Red Harvest, just like we used them before in the regular game. So that's really good. And now we've got the rune marks. Now here, this has been brought right up to date as well. And you can see if we compare the first page rune marks together, then the Red Harvest has got a lot more. You can see there's 3 extra ones here. So we've got Priest, Frenzied and Ally. So they've been added. So that's really good. And then also on the other page, you can see we've got the Tarantulas Brood and Dark Oath Savages rune mark included in the book too. So all the rune marks are up to date now in the Red Harvest book. So that was a really good addition. And then we're on to narrative play. In the core book, you're going to get open and match play, but in the Red Harvest book, you don't get that at all, and you're straight into narrative play. But to be fair, once you've got the rules and narrative play, you don't really need those other two. So unless you want to play some of the things those give you options for, you don't have to get it. So if you don't want to play multiplayer, you don't want to play match play, everything you need is in here. And the narrative play for me is the most fun part of Warcry. And this has got all that information included. So you really are good to go. You've got the same information here. As we turn the page, all this is the same. Again, updated where need be from the erratas. The aftermath sequence, that hasn't changed. They really haven't messed with the rules either, which I think is a really good move. You've got the lesser artifact tables, and now these are the same as in the core book. They're not new, you're not getting any new items, but again, updated where need be. And then finishing off there, and then we get to the warband roster at the end, and that's the end of the book. So nice and simple. You know, you've got those 104 pages with everything you need to learn about the background behind Warcry and everything you need to play the game. So for me, I think this is a really great book. I think you're not lacking an awful lot here. I think you could get this and be really happy playing the game. But if you did want to look at match play and open play, I thought we could just go through it really quickly and take a look at the core book, just so you know exactly what that's about, and then you can decide whether or not to add this book to your collection too. Right, so we've got the core book now, and this is open play. And open play, it tells us, is the most flexible of the three play styles. It's ideal for casual games, where the focus is on creating a fun game with ease, and this section is going to cover how to set up battles involving more than 2 players. And so if you want to play more than 2 players, you will need these rules. And so this comes under the Coalition of Death here, and that's going to break down all those rules. There's not an awful lot to it. You know, there's a couple of bits of information here, and then it's like the battle deployment zones. You get a death victory condition, and then condition 2, bit more info. Then you've got Triumph and Treachery, and this is multiplayer battles for 3 to 4 players. And this is really fun. So if you wanted to play that, you will need these rules. Again, you've got your deployments, your victory conditions, and some more information here. So there's a fair bit actually that you would need if you wanted to play that. So that's only available in the core book at the moment. And so if you wanted to get hold of that, you would need the core book just to pick those open play rules up. Narrative play, again, it's exactly the same as we've seen in Red Harvest, so we'll just skip through that. You can see everything's the same there. Then we've got match play, and this focuses on creating fair, level playing field as possible, and it gives players the chance to show your tactical acumen. And it says in the book that there are many times players wish to play a matched play battle. For example, you might have a friend who wants to have a friendly grudge match to decide who's the better player. So now you can start that game off evenly, and then everything's going to be as even as it can be in Warcry, and then you could decide who's the better player out of that. And so you've got pitched battles, and then you've got all the different tables here, and all the different information you need to run these match play games. It's also got information about tournaments, so if you wanted to do a tournament, maybe organise it, that's going to be in there as well. So yeah, there's a good few pages on match play that you can only get in this core book as well. So if you're interested in tournaments or playing this match play, then you're going to need to get the rules from the core book. But as we go into the campaign section, these are all very similar to what we've seen already, but here you've got different ones for different warbands. So if you wanted some extra campaigns to go on and you want to use it for different models you've got and want to put together some different warbands, then you're not going to be disappointed with this, that's for sure. I mean, it's packed with some great information, and then if you combine this with the other books, Tome of Champions and the supplement books for the different Grand Alliances, then you're going to have like endless battles and quests and campaigns to go on. And you can see the rest of the core book is pretty much made up of background tables. And then one thing it also has actually is these cards. So it's got the battle plan generator included in the book that you won't find in Red Harvest. But because Red Harvest does include the battle plan cards and the terrain cards, then you really don't need this. So this is something that's included in the core book, because with Catacombs they didn't include those battle plan cards, and so you needed the book to even use them. So I think that's one huge bonus for Red Harvest, is that you get the cards included in the box set. So I think that was a really good addition, and I was surprised to see it, to be fair, after not seeing it with Catacombs. So there we go, there's our Red Harvest book and our core book, and hopefully this has given you a good idea of what's included in Red Harvest and whether or not you'd need to pick up the core book. But I would say Red Harvest has got everything you need to play. It's a great box set, it's got perfect terrain, the miniatures are awesome, 2 really good warbands, you've got the battle plan cards, all the dice and tokens and everything included, and this book has got the up-to-date rules. So I really like this. If I had to choose between Red Harvest and Catacombs, I would definitely pick Red Harvest. I'm really impressed with what they've done with this set. But if you do want to play match play or look at those open play multiplayer game rules, you will need the core book. You can get it as a digital download, or you can buy the book, and I think you can get some pretty good deals on this online on eBay. But you can even get this on eBay for like £10 if you wanted. So if you wanted just the rules updated in line with the erratas, this might be a nice thing to just buy just for that, and then you could use other similar terrain and get the rules for Red Harvest from it. So this is really cheap at the moment for £10 on eBay. I think if you wanted to just get the book, you could certainly buy it separately and incorporate it into your regular Warcry games. But for me, I think this is all you need. I don't think you need the core book, again, unless you want to play open or match play. And really happy with this. The set's fantastic, and I don't think you'll be disappointed at all if you pick it up. If you'd like to find out more about the set, then I've done an unboxing review video. I've also gone through each of the warbands and done a deep dive. So for the Dark Oath Savages and the Tarantulas Brood, I've done that terrain talk, really focusing on the rules and the size of the terrain, and also the build options for both the Dark Oath Savages and the Tarantulas Brood as well. If you'd like to pick up a copy of Red Harvest for yourself, then I'll put some links in the description below where you can save up to 20% off the retail price. So I'll put a link to Element Games and Wayland Games, and there'll be affiliate links, but don't cost you anything extra. In fact, you can save that 20% and support the channel as I get some more commission from every sale made. So thanks so much for that support. If you choose to do it, it's really awesome. I hope this video has given you a really good idea about what's included in the book, and I hope it helps you decide whether or not to get that core book or not too. But I'd love to know what you think. Have you got the Red Harvest box set? Are you impressed with it? What do you like about it? What do you don't like? Do you wish they added something that's not included? Let me know in the comments section below. Be awesome to hear what you think. But for now, thanks so much for watching. Please like if you like it, subscribe for more videos like this, and don't forget to hit the notification bell to join me next time on Tabletop Skirmish Games. If you like this kind of content and would like to support the channel, then please check out my Patreon page, and thanks to everyone who's joined so far. It's really awesome. We hang out on Discord, talk about the hobby, share ideas and help each other out, and you'll get some perks there that you're not going to find anywhere else. So I'll put a link in the description, and it'll be great to see you there.